Hello everyone and welcome to today's Chemistry Daily Booster. This is number 23 in our Paper 2 series and it is not listed on the advanced information for either foundation or higher tier. But do remember that doesn't mean that there will not be questions on it. As we know, they have already stated that there is no information that will not be assessed on this paper. So don't just switch off the video now. I would still suggest recapping on these key points. What we're going to do then is have a look at the atmosphere here on Earth. Quick recap on the history of Earth's atmosphere first of all. The Earth itself is about 4.5 billion years old, and in the early stages of our planet's development we had loads of volcanic activity. As a result, our atmosphere was made up of water vapour and carbon dioxide. So because of all that volcanic activity, early Earth's atmosphere, water vapour and carbon dioxide. As the Earth began to cool down, that water vapour condensed to form our oceans, and as a result the atmosphere that was left was mainly carbon dioxide there. Some small quantities of ammonia and methane were present, but mostly we're talking carbon dioxide. As time ticks on, we eventually get to the appearance of our algae and plants. They are able to carry out photosynthesis, and as a result, carbon dioxide levels decreased, and we start to see, obviously, the process of photosynthesis generating oxygen. That oxygen that was initially made in the oceans reacted with metals to make metal oxides, and once most of the metal had been oxidized, the rest of the oxygen began to accumulate in the atmosphere itself. Which brings us to our atmosphere today. You need to learn these percentages. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.04% carbon dioxide. Those are the three that they're going to ask you about based on previous exam papers. Despite the fact that the atmosphere has got those kind of key gases, if you like, that make up the vast majority, the way that we behave as humans does have an impact on the atmosphere itself. One thing that we are going to do is create pollutants, which are substances we release into the environment that can harm living things. One of these key pollutants that we make is carbon monoxide, and this happens during incomplete combustion of fuels. What we find is that vehicle engines are a key source of carbon monoxide because they don't get a great supply of oxygen in the vehicle itself, and therefore when those fuels burn, incomplete combustion occurs, carbon monoxide is made. Now, carbon monoxide is a gas that's colourless, odourless and tasteless, and it's problematic because if we actually breathe it in, it's going to bind to our hemoglobin in our red blood cells, and it's going to reduce their ability to carry oxygen because there's carbon monoxide being carried instead of oxygen. As a result, you'll start to feel quite drowsy, you can have difficulty breathing, you might feel sick, you're going to get a headache, and if you breathe in too much carbon monoxide, then it will kill you. So death is something we want to avoid at all costs, hence avoiding carbon monoxide inhalation is a good starting point. Second type of pollutant that we can have are particulates. Now, particulates are just small particles produced during incomplete combustion or other industrial processes, and they're capable of settling deep in your lungs when you breathe. So as a result, you can develop conditions like bronchitis or other breathing problems. So this is generally something we want to avoid breathing in if possible. So if we can find ways to reduce the number of particulates in our air, all the better. The next one are the oxides of nitrogen. Now, nitrogen and oxygen don't normally react, hence the fact that our atmosphere is 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. Obviously, if they readily reacted, we wouldn't have that composition. They'd be formed as some kind of oxide of nitrogen in almost all cases. The reason they don't generally react is because nitrogen itself has a triple bond between those two nitrogen atoms, and that needs really high temperatures to break it. temperatures that we can reach inside our vehicle engines once more. So at that point, what we find is the nitrogen will react with oxygen to make nitrogen monoxide, NO, and then it becomes oxidized in air to make nitrogen dioxide, NO2. The reason that we're concerned about creating nitrogen dioxide is because when it dissolves in the water vapor of our clouds, we make acid rain. Now, acid rain is going to erode stonework, corrode metal, kill trees, kill living things if it builds up in lakes and rivers. It's generally not a great substance to have falling from the sky. So the more we can reduce the nitrogen dioxide levels, the more we can reduce the impacts of acid rain. Once more back to our cars, because they burn fossil fuels, and quite often fossil fuels have small quantities of sulfur present as impurities. So when we actually burn that fossil fuel, the sulfur reacts with oxygen to make sulfur dioxide. Again, sulfur dioxide is going to dissolve in the water vapor of our clouds and fall as acid rain. If you breathe in sulfur dioxide in significant quantities, then you can also develop breathing difficulties. As always, if you'd like to have a look at any of the bits that we've done in today's booster in more detail, use the C6 playlist on the channel, your revision guides, your classwork notes, anything you've got handy with the information. Don't forget to also have a look at some of the past exam papers just to get a bit of a feel for the style of questions that come up. And of course, don't forget to join us once more tomorrow for our next daily booster.